Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And what a cracker brand new intro we've got here for Football Worldwide. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're joining us from around the world. It is that time of week again. It's European Weekly Catch Up. Here, as always, your host, Jonathan, as I am, with my beautiful co-host, Bruno. How are you, Bello?
I am fantastic, and like you said, you just want to jam to that, that intro. It's going well. Shout out to Mo picking a great intro there. But look, guys, it has been a crazy weekend of football, and there is so much to cover. So, without further ado, let's get into it. What do we got first, Jonathan?
Straight away, always going into the English Premier League. Bruno, how about you bring up that table? What happened last week's fixtures?
Okay, so last week we started the round with Arsenal defeating Aston Villa 3-1. Chelsea absolutely decimated Norwich City 7-0. Crystal and Newcastle shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw, as did Leeds and Wolves. Everton, what happened there? They lost 5-2 to Watford. Ranieri taking it out there. Southampton and Burnley, they shared the spoils in a 2-2 draw. Brighton, they were not good enough to host Man City and come away with anything. They lost 4-1. West Ham defeated Tottenham 1-0. What's happening there, Jonathan? Brentford and Leicester. Well, Leicester walked away 2-1 victors there. And Manchester United took on Liverpool and they lost 5-0. And we will definitely get into that. But, Jonathan, before we get into that fixture there, Chelsea, we discussed this in the Champions League show with Anthony last week. They lost both Lukaku and Werner, their two strikers. We said, are they going to struggle? And then we looked at the fixture list and said, oh, look, they'll be able to get the job done. But 7-0? 7-0? A Mason Mount hat-trick. And let me just throw it to you. A Mason Mount hat-trick. Mason Mount was a product of the Norwich youth system. So he really rubbed salt into their wounds there. But the question is, Chelsea, they're flying high at the top of the table, but Norwich, what's happening there?
Look, they just, like you said, 7-0. Norwich, mate, they don't deserve to be in the Premier League at the moment. They've had a very disappointing campaign so far, and I know at the beginning of the season, they were one of your teams that you always liked supporting when they were in 2 years ago, but they look far from the side that was in 2 years ago. They've got some huge problems. They're pretty much just passengers at this stage. I don't see them getting any type of wins anytime soon. They have absolutely they literally just look like a bottom championship side. They really don't deserve to be in with the big boys. But on the other hand, in saying that, you got to give credit where credit's due. Tuchel having to change the formation to be able to, combat the strikerless people that he had Lukaku and Werner. So, in saying that, if Tuchel changed the formation to a 3-4-2-1, Mason Mount, like you said, scoring a hat-trick. The first goals were through Chelsea juniors that they had brought through their academy. So just going to show that they're not just a rich club, they're able to produce some of their own homegrown talent as well. And, in saying that, I just feel like, and we'll get to some of the other games and some of the other teams that happened, played on the weekend in the Premier League, but you got to say, Chelsea have been that team where it doesn't matter who you're playing, being a top or a bottom side, they've been very consistent and very balanced throughout their squad. So, credit to them where it's due. Like you said, a strikerless Chelsea, and it was still no problem for them to be able to get through this win.
Yeah, 100%.
Did you have anything you wanted to add to that one, Bruno?
Nah, look, I think you covered it perfectly.
So next one, I think that we needed to bring it up is to your teammate, your Manchester City boys winning 4-1 over Brighton. Mate, without a striker, they're still doing the job.
Yeah, look, when you've got a team like Manchester City and the funds that they've spent, you'd expect them to be able to have players that can step up on the day. Now, Brighton, they've exceeded a lot of individuals' expectations this season. They're up there, and they've been up there, and they've pulled off results. But I think this Manchester City team gave them a very harsh reality check, and really the job was done in the first half. They were down 3-0, and you couldn't see it coming back. But we talk about producing players. Well, Guardiola, he saw something in Foden a couple of years ago. He's given him the go, and he got that double before halftime. It was something special there. I just think he knows what he's doing, and you can't count them out this season. And before we go, so I think that's everything I've got to say there. There were contentious decisions, but at the same time, I don't feel any of it would have changed the way the fixture went. Manchester City just far too strong, and they're really emphasizing why they are title contenders and why they've won it last season and why they made the Champions League final last year. And it all comes down to the chemistry that they've got there. It's absolutely phenomenal. But I feel the match of the week was Liverpool-Manchester United. And look, Chelsea, City, and Chelsea are on top with 22 points. Liverpool in second after this win on 21, and City in third on 20. So 2 points divided in the top three. But this weekend, they scored 16 goals between them. You know, that's something where it really shows the rift between first and the top of the table and the bottom. But Manchester United, they're not a bottom of the table team, and a lot of fans would be upset if we were to say that. But 5-0, Jonathan. 5-0. And they really didn't play a full game, Liverpool. They turned the match off after Pogba got sent off with the red card.
Yeah, I think that was around the 60th, somewhere around there, 60th type of minute. And, you know, just to comment further on that, Firmino absolutely toying with Maguire. He had him literally on a string. He was pulling him out of places, and you could almost put down every goal that Liverpool scored. They were pretty much predominantly because of Harry Maguire and his poor positioning in defense and so forth. You know, there's a lot to break down in this game. Now, one of the main things I wanted to raise is, Bruno, at the beginning of the season, I don't know why, but why did Manchester United give Ollie a 3-year contract extension when he already had another 12 to 24 months still to go on his last one? He wasn't going to go anywhere.
No, look, I think it wasn't. I think it was more down to he met an expectation in his previous contract, making the final of the Europa League. But at the same time, Ole is a former player, and for some reason they've got too much respect for Ole. And what I wanted to mention, right at that same point, Manchester City gave Guardiola 2 years. Also, Chelsea had given Tuchel a 2-year extension. What warrants Man United and the Glaciers giving a ex-player who is there, the manager, had not achieved anything? They haven't won a trophy. I think it was in 5 years now, and they're not even looking close with him at the helm. This is his third year. December is his third year. He's been there now, and they actually look worse, in my opinion, than what they were before Mourinho got the sack. Yeah, look, I think when you give a contract extension to a manager, it's to give the manager confidence that they believe in you. And when you feel that your owners believe in you, it makes your job a lot easier. You're not second-guessing everything you do. And you look at Steve Bruce from Newcastle. He always had in the back of his mind, is this my last game? Is this my last game? And we've just seen what's happened there. But rumors coming out of multiple sources this morning and throughout the last couple of days saying they've made contact with Antonio Conte. Will he solve their problems? I don't think so. Ultimately, you look at the team they've got. Maguire, one of the most expensive defender in the world, and he looks like a kid in the park, playing park football. Yeah. McTominay and Fred combination in the middle is horrendous.
Yeah.
And we're talking as pundits. We're talking as fans of the game. We're not even talking officially here. So you're looking at what we can do and what Manchester United can do, and you really can't come up with answers. Is a new coach going to answer the problems? A new coach may provide stability and comfort to the players, especially when you got the egos like Sancho, Fernandes, Cavani, and Ronaldo all in the same squad, and someone like Antonio Conte can stabilize it. But I feel overall the damage is already done.
Yeah.
I think the Premier League is an unforgiving league, and every time you drop points, you're only drifting further and further behind, and they're already 8 points off Chelsea in first place. So that's 3 games you need to take maximum points while Chelsea do drop points, and I can't pick 3 games this season where they will do that. They've already played Liverpool and City once, so they've only got them to again one more time. So essentially, we've said it multiple times. Ole is Donkey Kong at the wheels of a Ferrari. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's the Arteta for us. What Arteta is to Arsenal, he is to Manchester United. And unfortunately, when you've got such a great squad, even as a City fan, you'd love to see the combinations and see how they can play. But it's just worthy to turn the TV off.
Yeah.
Liverpool were 5-0 before 60 minutes. That could have went 8-9-0. And let me tell you, Jonathan, Liverpool didn't play a fantastic game. They just took advantage of all the challenges. So ultimately, Jonathan, I feel it's a big issue for Liverpool, but, for Manchester United, but it will take some time. Is Conte the answer? I don't know.
No, I know what you're saying. And look, only time will tell, but look, I think that's pretty much enough. Mo's covered it in in everything EPL. So go for a more in-depth analysis on that, and we'll leave that one there and move to our next league, which is the Italian Serie A. So in saying that, moving into the results of what took place over the weekend, guys, starting from the top, Torino got a 3-2 win over Genoa. Then the next game, Sampdoria 2-1 over Spezia. Empoli with a brilliant game, winning 4-2 over Salernitana. Sassuolo 3-1 over Venezia. Milan, they did it. They made a game of it, 4-2 over a 9-man Bologna in the end there. The next one, Atalanta and Udinese playing a 1-1 draw. Verona absolutely spanking and bringing Lazio back down to earth. 4-1 Verona got up there. Cagliari again performing back to what we know how good they can be. Fiorentina 3-0 over Cagliari. Roma brought Napoli off their winning streak to start the league with playing at a 0-0 draw. And the Derby d'Italia, Inter and Juventus playing a 1-1 draw. Bruno, I'd like to take you first to the Milan versus Bologna game. Mate, Bologna went down to 9 men, didn't give themselves, not many people would give themselves much of a chance, but they made a game of it after that point. They really took the game to Milan at 2-2, and this was in about the 60th, 70th minute. So they came back all right, Milan.
Yeah, look, Milan came back all right. Leao kicked it off after 15 minutes. He got the opening goal, and you just thought AC Milan were going to cruise to a win. After 20 minutes, Bologna get the straight red, and Calabria scored, I think it was before halftime. I think it was the 35th or 36th minute. So you thought 2-0 at halftime, it's going to be an interesting game. How many can Milan put past Bologna? Then Zlatan scores the first own goal in his career. Musa Barrow equalizes all in the space of 4 minutes, right? And then 4 minutes later, Soriano gets sent off with a straight red card. And Bologna just did not look like they were going to concede again. And when you've got 9 men on the pitch, it's very interesting to see. You keep going, and it wasn't until the 84th minute where they ended up, through Benacer, ended up getting Milan ahead. 3-2, but even as an AC Milan fan, you wouldn't feel confident because Bologna were just phenomenal. You just got to admit, Bologna were phenomenal on the day, and Zlatan made up for it in the 90th minute to make it 4-2. But the result really does, the final score doesn't really reflect the outcome of the game and how it was played. Bologna seem to have played a lot better when they're down 2 players, but overall, it's a different game plan. And when you're a manager like Pioli, who has had the stability that a lot of other Serie A managers haven't had, he was able to keep a level head. When you go down a player, some people say, oh, you're down a player, you should be taking advantage of it. Well, you should be, but at the same time, it changes your whole game plan because you've gone into this game, I'm playing against 11 men, this is how we're going to play. You lose a player, it's like, oh, how are we going to take advantage of that? And you're thinking too much on how to take advantage of that, and you move away from the game. You lose 2 players, you really feel it should be pushing on. But AC Milan, they're still going strong. They're doing really well. You got to give credit where credit's due. They're still one of the only out of they're equal first with Napoli, and they're undefeated still with only the 1 draw. So overall, I feel they've done well. But we did have a goalless draw between Roma and Napoli. We did see both Spalletti and Mourinho sent off with red cards. So both managers being sent off. Now, my question to you, Jonathan, is Spalletti, I've said it before, he seems to fall off. He has a fantastic start and he seems to drop back a bit. Is this the start of the downfall, or were they just playing against a great team and they still managed to get a point out of it away from home?
I think, breaking this game down for what it was, for a goalless draw, this was actually a very exciting game. Now, you got to take into consideration Roma played on, I think it was Thursday last week or Friday last week, and they got absolutely hammered. I think it was 6-1, the final result, around that. So for Mourinho to get them back, and he absolutely demolished them in the press conference afterwards, coming out and saying, my first 13 players are amazing, the rest are shit. Straight out. That is exactly what he said, pretty much word for word. So if that's not a kick up the ass to your team, but to do that and to be out as he is, and we all know what a character he is, to get his team performing, to bounce back after such a dismal defeat, you got to give credit where credit's due there. And he's done probably vintage Mourinho in putting a rocket up all of those players. Again, you got to think, Napoli have ridden their luck a little bit this season as well, and they've versed some formidable opponents, but I think this one was obviously a big one in the sense of a team coming off such a heavy loss. They were always going to fire back for themselves, for their manager, for their fans, for the shirt. So I think it was just one of those games where it could have easily went either way this game. Both sides had some chances. And even Osimhen, as good as the performance that he's had during this season, he could have put a couple of chances away himself. Abraham had a chance or two that he should have put away. Pretty much was odds on. Don't know how he missed as he did. But you just got to give it where credit's due. It was just one of those games where the ball was just not falling for either of the teams, and as much as either of them would push, and it was just a formidable, great battle. I know Ant's probably covered this with the boys on the Serie A roundtable. So for a more in-depth performance, I dare say, guys, go check out Serie A roundtable, because they would have broken this down to a great degree. But in moving on to the next game, if we could, Bruno, the Derby d'Italia, which was my one to watch from last week, 1-1 Inter Juventus, tale of two halves.
Yeah, look, Inter played extremely well in the first half. They were a great force and they didn't capitalize on all their chances. So when you look at it like that against a team like Juventus, if you don't take your chances, you're going to be made to suffer. Looking at how Inter were, when I saw Vidal wasn't starting, it was a bit, how's it going, especially after his Champions League performance last week. But overall, they played extremely well. Then halftime comes, and you just think that Inzaghi in the sheds said to the boys, we're up 1-0, let's defend. And you don't give that much respect to a team like Juventus, because when you do, you're going to be made to suffer. But Jonathan, we know the result ended in 1-1, but my question is, Allegri, you have Chiesa and Dybala on your team, but you keep them on the bench against a team like Inter in one of the biggest matches each and every season. What was he thinking?
What I've taken with Allegri in how he's watching them a bit closer since after, obviously, once Ronaldo had left and so forth, his tactics from what I've seen is, let's let the first period of the game go forth. Let's hold back. Let's play our blocks. We know we can defend. You got Chiellini and Bonucci, who are the Italian defending pair at the back there. Just won the Euros together. Then you got De Ligt there as well, who's a very capable defender and one of the best in the world, I still think, as well. So it's pretty much, let's absorb all the pressure, and it played right into their hands in regards to Inter. Let Inter have the ball, pushed as good as they could. Inter, we know, have had problems scoring goals, unless Dzeko or Martinez is putting. But if they're not on, there's not much else of being able for Inter to take their opportunities. They just can't put the ball at the back of the net. And that's exactly what's happened this game as well. So that being the case, I feel like Allegri's tactic is, let's go through the motions for the beginning of the game. Then anyone that can bring Dybala and Chiesa on, fresh in the 50th, 60th minute, mate, they're going to run rings. And that's exactly what changed the game. As soon as they did come on, the momentum just completely switched right into Juventus's favor. And the way they were pushing onto the goal, it just resulted in the pressure on the box and so forth. And they got that penalty decision, which, in my opinion, was the correct call. And it was the correct decision for VAR to call back the referee. Even as Inter supporters, we got to call it for what it is, mate. The rule's the rule. And to me, it was done correctly. What did you think of it?
Look, the only issue I had with it initially was it in or outside of the box? That's essentially how I saw it. Was it inside the box or was it outside of the box? But it was one of those unavoidable decisions where Dumfries, I don't think he could have done anything else to get the ball. And unfortunately, if he doesn't make contact, it turns into a penalty. But I just feel they're going to go and score either way. So ultimately, it was a penalty. Did Inter deserve to lose that match? No. Did they deserve to draw? Yes. Overall, I think it was a game of two halves and both teams deserved something out of it. Was it a disappointing result? Not really. These fixtures always got massive hype. So when you look at it from that front, you definitely got something to look forward to whenever this does happen. But let's move on to the Spanish La Liga, Jonathan.
Yeah, and it was good to have the full round back. But moving into the results for match day 10, this was, so starting from the top, Osasuna and Granada played a 1-1 draw. Valencia and Mallorca played a 2-2 draw. Alvarez got a 2-0 win over Cadiz. Elche and Espanyol played a 2-2 draw. Athletic Club won 2-1 over Villarreal. Sevilla 5-3 over Levante. Real Madrid got the 3 points over Barcelona 2-1, and we're going to cover that one in a bit more detail. Real Betis beat Rayo Vallecano 3-2. Atletico Madrid and Real Sociedad play a 2-2 draw, and Celta Vigo won 3-0 over Getafe. Bruno, first Clásico without Messi in a while, mate. Let's break this one down first. Alaba, in my opinion, man of the match for this game. He was just immense. That goal that he had, that run that he had with in pushing forward, it just looked like vintage Alaba. He's definitely not lost his class. Doesn't leave players like this. He's literally just world class. With him, Benzema, Modric, Cruz, and Vinicius Jr., mate, this team I think is going to go pretty close to winning the La Liga this year.
Yeah, definitely. Look, when you look at the actual game itself, and if, say, for instance, you're a stats person, you look at the stats percentage, I think it was 52-48 to Barcelona. Shots on goal, I think it was 12 all. So on stats, it looks like a very even game. But when you dissect the game and the fixture itself, you're looking at a Barcelona team which is struggling. And they aren't struggling in a way where, they can get out of this hole. They're struggling for that exposure. But it was 1-0 for the majority of the match with Real Madrid making it 2-0 in the 93rd minute. And then they got the consolation goal through Aguero in the 97th minute. So it was very late on. Barcelona didn't play abysmal, but they did not play to beat Real Madrid. Now, you look at this team, they've gone through massive changes in the offseason, and you can tell they're suffering as a result of it. Aguero moved to Barcelona to play alongside Messi, and we saw what happened there. And, you lose Griezmann on the last day to return back to Atletico. It's something of disaster. Whereas if you look at Real Madrid, they may have lost Ramos, but at the same time, they've replaced class with class and of the same caliber, in my opinion. And they've had some great players step up. Vini Jr. has been absolutely phenomenal for him in both the La Liga and in the Champions League. And him and Benzema side by side just look phenomenal. Was it a great win for Real Madrid? No, far from it. They could have made a lot more of it, but so could have Barcelona. It's a game where you've got to take your chances. It is a massive fixture in Spain, the biggest fixture in the La Liga. It didn't disappoint. Did I think Barcelona were going to come away with the spoils? No, I didn't think so myself. But it is the El Clasico. Anything is possible in that sense. This was my ones to watch last week, and I'm grateful it was because it's the El Clasico sets the standard for both teams for the season, and you can really see where they're at. And this just provided so much more clarity.
Yeah, definitely. And just to mention one more point, Barcelona with the ball, the way that they are, their biggest problem is that their attack just looks so slow, and they don't have anyone which is actually penetrating and pushing the ball forward like what Messi did. They're not just missing Messi's goals, but they're missing someone that is actually taking on the defense and to put that pressure onto Real Madrid. Barcelona had a lot of the ball trying to play not tiki-taka, but they were just holding the ball in possession, but they were doing absolutely nothing with it. Real Madrid was sitting back saying, no problem at all. We've got you guys covered. Do what you can. They weren't even going down the side for Alaba or anything. They just weren't penetrating whatsoever. So to me, they were very disappointing in that sense. And I think, to me, this game was never going to be won by Barcelona. Real Madrid are just clearly a step ahead. Not at their best, but they don't need to be at their best at the moment because the rest of the league is still playing catch up. In saying that, there is talk that because Aguero is so upset that he's still upset that he wanted to play with Messi, there is talk that Icardi from PSG and Barcelona may be doing a swap for Aguero and Icardi, because Icardi has actually had a falling out with Messi since the beginning of since he's arrived. So that's something that we might be looking at in January, to be honest.
Yeah, no, look, I think that'd be a fantastic swap on both parts. Aguero would fit perfectly to replace Mbappe in the 70th minute if things aren't going their way and so forth. But look, we'll move from Real Madrid to Atletico Madrid. Not much to say there. They went down 1-0 after, I think, 8 minutes it was, and then they're down 2-0. And who else to get them out of trouble but Luis Suarez? He scored the penalty and he scored another goal in open play. So it was one of those fixtures where you really thought the game was getting away from Atletico. Didn't seem the case. They managed to get a point back. Griezmann isn't firing on all cylinders like he should be, but he just came off a double in the Champions League. So you got to give him something on that front. But overall, I don't think you can say much about the rest of the league, Jonathan.
No, that was pretty much it. Pretty much the fact that a 2-2 draw. It was actually an entertaining game. Real Sociedad, credit where credit's due. They've been performing well. And they're actually pretty exciting to watch. So Luis Suarez doing what he does best. But happy to leave that one there and move on to our next league, which is the German Bundesliga. Bruno, take us through the results of what happened on the weekend, mate.
So Mainz defeated Augsburg 4-1, as well as RB Leipzig defeated Gütersloh 4-1. Arminia Bielefeld, they were not strong enough to hold back Dortmund, losing 3-1 there. Wolfsburg, they struggled. Manager's gone. They lost 2-0 to Freiburg. Bayern Munich, well, it seems to be the narrative that keeps on repeating itself. 4-0 against Hoffenheim. Hertha Berlin defeated Borussia Mönchengladbach 1-0. Holland and Leverkusen shed the spoils in a 2-2 draw. Stuttgart drew with Union Berlin 1-1, and Bochum defeated Frankfurt 2-0 in what was a great fixture there. But before I hand it to you, I am just going to quickly tick the boxes as we do every episode when it comes to this team. Bayern Munich defeated Hoffenheim 4-0. Lewandowski, Muller, that had such a phenomenal game. And what made this even more impressive was their manager wasn't actually present at the game itself, as he is currently suffering from COVID-19. So, they just went out and they did this for him. They had 4 individual goal scorers in Gnabry, Lewandowski, Choupo-Moting, and Coman. And they just didn't really have much of a threat there. I don't think there's anything else to add, is there, Jonathan?
No, pretty much that was it. Though it was funny, like the commentators were saying that I'm going to raise another point that Bayern Munich are probably the only team in the world that don't need a manager to run them. They can pretty much run on their own.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll just move on from that. So Bayern Munich remain in first place on 22 points, with Dortmund in second on 21 points. So, Jonathan, Dortmund, they defeated Arminia Bielefeld 3-1.
Yeah, so Haaland out and was out of this game. He pulled up lame after the Champions League game with Ajax last week when they got absolutely spanked 4-0. But the next day, he was suffering a bit of hip tightness. Now, apparently, it's not related to his previous injury that he had out for a couple of weeks. But Dortmund have come out and said that he needs a lot of rest. So there's actually talk that Haaland will not be back until January after Christmas break and so forth. That's how much time that he's looking at having off. He's going to miss internationals and all of that. And they're just going to monitor his situation to make sure that he's going to be ready for the second half of the season. But in saying that, they were too good, Dortmund. They didn't need him. Hummels with an absolutely brilliant stroke for the second goal. Mate, any striker would have been happy to put that one in the way that he controlled and put that in. Jude Bellingham dribbled through 3 defenders, and then, mate, this guy was just so graceful on his feet, and then with a little dink just over the keeper to get that. It looked like it was going to be cleared off the line, but it had just gone over enough before the defender had cleared it. But other than that, Borussia Dortmund, they've still got some problems in defense, and they're leaking goals like there's no tomorrow. Just easy, silly goals, which you would expect them to be able to just control and not be able to not expect such a big team to be able to concede so easily. But in saying that, that's all I pretty much had to say for the Bundesliga. So happy to move on to our final league, if we can, Bruno, which is the French Ligue 1. Now going into match day 11, Bruno, what were the results that happened?
Saint-Étienne and Agnes played out a 2-2 draw there. Nantes and Clermont-Foot, Nantes defeated Clermont-Foot 2-1. Lille and Brest shed the spoils in a 1-1 draw. Nice were way too strong for Lyon, defeating them 3-2. Lens beat Metz 4-1. Reims lost to Troyes, 2-1. Rennes beat Strasbourg 1-0, tongue twister there. Lorient and Bordeaux shed the spoils in a 1-1 draw. Monaco way too strong for Montpellier, winning 3-1 there. And what I would say would be match of the round, and the only one we should really be talking about today is Marseille and PSG playing out a scoreless draw there. Jonathan, I'm not going to say it was a boring game just because it was 0-0. Both teams had a goal ruled out for offside. Both PSG had Achraf Hakimi sent off in what was probably a goal-saving red card. He did it just outside the box. But it was a game of entertainment, like to the point where you've got Messi, who almost puts a goal in from a header surrounded by 4 men, the shortest man on the pitch. Now, I don't think it's going to hamper PSG in their title track this season, but it was great to see them humbled.
No, definitely, especially for the fact that you look at the attacking prowess that, we've mentioned this time in, time in every week. And I think it's just going to be one of those things that we're going to keep mentioning until it finally clicks and they're scoring hat tricks every game type thing. But look, it's starting to look like that front three of Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi are starting to gel a bit better. They had a pretty solid team that was out there, to be honest, and they weren't caught off the break as much as what they had been. But obviously, once Hakimi had been sent off, the game did open up a bit more for Marseille, and pretty much you just got to call it for what it is. Marseille, mate, they've got some fans. I'll tell you what, it's got to be an intimidating ground to go to, because they seem like they're so close to the field and all of that, especially to the point where Neymar was taking corners and they had the riot police out with riot shields just protecting, because they were throwing projectiles from the sideline at him. And even Payet had to go over and tell him to kind of calm down a bit, guys, calm down. And then, of course, as it's been happening so often, you're seeing people come on the field and want to get a photo or an autograph with Messi or something like that. And yeah, but I tell you what, it's very much an intimidating ground to be going to, that's for sure.
Look, Marseille are a phenomenal team. They have shown where they are in the league. You've mentioned them before they went on a winless run there, but I think this performance here, it really impressed me. PSG really impressed me. And you mentioned the front three of Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi. I really got to throw Di Maria in with that too. The Argentine connection between him and Messi, you can really tell it's there. And he seems to be ageless. He just keeps. Yeah. He's like a fine wine, a fine Scotch. Sorry, gets better with age. And I just think he's done really well. But this fixture really showed me more about PSG than what it did about Marseille. And the only reason I say that is they went down to 10 men, and we've criticized their defense in the past, but they really showed they could hold their own. And like I said, both teams really did have their chances, but it was probably a fair result on the outset. Looking at it, they both deserved a point out of this. And like I said, it doesn't change anything. PSG are going to run away with this. Messi just needs to get the ball at his feet sometimes, and you'll see him put it in the back of the net. But overall, I think when I say they're not going to run away with this, well, after 11 games, PSG's in first on 28 points, and Lens is in second on 21 points. So it's not a situation like England, Italy, where you've got tightness at the top. There's already 7 points between first and second. So, it doesn't hurt them. It doesn't hurt them. So I think that's all we got time for in regards to the league. Let's move on to the next one. Around the grounds, where we pick a game from a different league That's outside of Europe's top 5. Before we go into this one, last week, Jonathan, you picked an MLS game, and I said to you, I'm going to make sure you've watched this and you're not just pulling something out for content. What was the score in the game, and how entertaining was it?
So last week I picked the MLS game of New York City, and I think it was DC United that was the opponent. This game was something I have not seen ever. New York City went 3-0 up in the 11th minute, and the game ended up finishing 6-0. So absolutely cracking game. It was just, I'll tell you what, I had a barbecue at my house and I had a few people over. It was just unreal. Watching the game, I was actually laughing about it. Just I couldn't believe how many goals were being scored. But enough of that. And my around the grounds for this week, I'm taking it to the Scottish Premier League, and first place Rangers are taking on Aberdeen. And yeah, that's just going to be my one to watch my around the grounds, because Rangers are on terrific form at the moment. Aberdeen are in a little bit of a slump, but they've got a huge history, and they're just a great team.
Rich history there.
They do have a very rich history. So, you know what? I'd actually like to see an upset on that one and see Aberdeen, because I've got a little bit of a soft spot for them, to be perfectly honest. So yeah.
Yeah, and my around the grounds, we're taking it to Germany in the German domestic cup. I think it's the Pokal Cup, I believe. And it is Mönchengladbach who are hosting Bayern Munich. And the reason I've selected this is I don't feel Bayern Munich will be fielding a optimal, strong, aggressive team. But Mönchengladbach did take points off Bayern Munich in the league. I think it was August 14th. Where they drew 1-1. So there's a bit of revenge for Bayern Munich in this front, but I just think it'll be a good game to watch. And you don't really get into the German league too much, so I really think we should be watching this. Now, let's move on to the next one.
And moving into our one to watch this week, as you just said, moving it to the Bundesliga. I am continuing onto the Bundesliga, and my one to watch this week is Bayern Leverkusen versus Wolfsburg. And the reason why I've chosen this match specifically is because Leverkusen have been on great form. Wolfsburg started the campaign very strong, but after the last round, actually sacked their manager, Van Bommel, I think, is that how you pronounce his name? I think. Yes. Thank you, Bruno. So I will be expecting Wolfsburg to be bouncing back. We know what it's like. As soon as a team sacks their manager, there's always a response from the players. So I'm expecting a big one from this game.
Look at Watford. Ranieri comes in. They defeat Everton. They're down 2-1 with 10 minutes to go. They win 5-2. So anything is possible. I'm taking it to France. We're looking at last year's champs in Lille, who are traveling to face this year's predicted champs in PSG. There's a lot on the line for both teams here. PSG, they need to back it up. They need to get the 3 points. And Lille, they have been very underwhelming this season. So I just think that is probably one of the games you really got to keep an eye out. But guys, this week we do also have some midweek fixtures as well. So next week will be double the content in the same amount of time. So, wow. So it will definitely be covered. So I think it is La Liga and the Serie A both have fixtures this week. So yeah, I think that's all we got to say for today's episode, Jonathan.
Yeah, great episode as always. So many massive games from the weekend, and with the couple of extra match days in this week coming, we've got a lot of content coming next week. Guys, before we wrap it up, be sure to like and subscribe, and let us know how we're going so far and all that. And before I sign us off, Bruno, why don't you let everyone know what's going on the rest of this channel?
So you have weekly episodes with Mo on everything EPL. Got it right this time, Jonathan. Serie A Roundtable will be released. So have a look there with Anthony, who has a great panel, and they discuss the Serie A in depth. European Weekly catch up with myself and this beautiful co-host here. We will have this week hopefully an episode out of the conversation starter. Tim and Ullman are returning with another ep there, and you can catch us on Champions League match days with the Champions League show, as well with the occasional In the Spotlight episode. But like Jonathan said,
I was going to say that. Yeah, I was about to mention that. If you haven't checked it already, Bruno, Anthony, and a Newcastle supporter broke down the first episode. Shane, sorry, thank you. The first episode of In the Spotlight that just came out a couple of days ago. Be sure to check that out because they went into great depth of what the new takeover for Newcastle United in the EPL will bring to them. Thank you so much, Bruno. It's always a pleasure. I can't wait till we are actually going to be getting together, like we said, and doing these in person. We've had a few
every week. We're saying the same story week in and week out. So hopefully
it's coming. Guys, thanks again. We'll catch you next week. Ciao.
Ciao.